All right, guys. Why are Americans so good at Rubik's Cube?
Why?
Because they have a history of separating colors.
Oh, geez.
Welcome
Well-
to Racing Home Podcast. You're joined by your hosts, Fez and Nick, and today we have a special guest, Jason Kanakry. Would you like to introduce yourself, Jason?
Hello, I'm Jason Kanakry.
So, Jason competes in track mod with Grid Life as well in his McLaren 720S. We've mentioned him a little bit on our podcast before as well. He is literally goals for a lot of people because he not only tracks his 720S, but he also takes it on rallies and dailies it every now and then and whatnot, right? Is that correct, Jason?
Yep, yeah, that is correct. I put on supercar rallies all over the country, go around, have fun with it. I don't know if I would say goals for a lot of people. I think it's like the Instagram thing, right? Sometimes it looks better than it actually is. But yeah, I guess from the outside perception, yeah, probably goals for a lot of people.
Well, it's definitely a goal of mine. Like, it definitely looks like it's a lot of fun, and I mean, who wouldn't want to have a Raptor and a McLaren 720S?
Yeah, I suppose. I can tell you how to do it. You want to know how? Do we want to cut to the chase? 30-second podcast?
Is it Bitcoin?
No. Oh, it could be. Don't
Dogecoin.
have kids. That's number one. And don't have a house. That's number two. Then you can just buy whatever you want.
Oh man, I already fucked up on the second part of that one. I already have 2 homes, one in Houston, one in Austin.
Yeah.
Well,
No, you
the
just
Houston
have.
one, the Houston one's a rental, so that is actually working.
Oh,
in favor
perfect.
right now. Is that okay?
Perfect. Yeah, that's acceptable.
Okay, good.
You have to have things that make money.
Wait, so do you live out of the RV?
No.
Oh.
No, so my girlfriend, partner, Alex, so she has a house. When I've known her for years. I was married before, and when I got divorced, I had my apartment for a while, and then moved in here. And at the same time, we basically bought an RV, and then we bought a different RV. So she owns this. We split the bills and stuff like that, and then yep. Then I have obviously the RV, the open stacker, the McLaren, the Raptor, BMW M3. And then she has a Mini Cooper and a Lincoln MKX, the SUV one.
Is that like the Ford Edge or the Ford?
Yeah, yep, yeah, same thing, but they charge you like 20 grand more because it has a different grill.
It is a lot of chrome.
It is a lot. I hate chrome. It's a lot of chrome. So,
oh yeah.
But now we're thinking maybe she needs to have a Bronco Raptor or something.
How did they do over at? Oh well, actually, we'll get into that later. I'm very curious to hear how the Bronco Raptor did at your recent snowball rally. Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later.
So I also, for the house thing, I've actually heard obviously both sides of the ways where people say it's like an appreciating asset, so you should always have a house. But then I've also heard like the other way around, like yes, it's an appreciating asset potentially, but the amount of maintenance you have to do to keep upkeep and whatnot can also make it less of an appreciating asset.
I mean, I'm kind of half joking about the house because you got to live somewhere, right? I think the bigger thing is the kids, but there's plus size of kids. So, I mean, I didn't have any kids, but my sister has 3. So it's, it's nice. I was close with them. They live in Houston. So we go down there often. And yeah, it's nice to spoil them. You get to be a part of their life and stuff like that. And then if you don't want to see them, you don't technically have to.
You just don't go to Houston. There's many.
Yeah, you don't go to Houston.
And then you get to be a cool uncle with all the cool cars.
Exactly.
Yeah. I got a chance to take my nephew out at Autobahn at the racetrack, and like I hope I'm his favorite uncle at this point. Because if not, I don't know.
Like, what else could you possibly do?
I took who did I take? So one of the rallies that I did, we were at MSR Houston. I rented it for the day. And I took my mom, my uncle, my niece. I don't think my sister was there, but I took them all out, and every single one of them were like, "You're going to kill me in this car." I'm like, haven't killed anybody yet. I think you're okay.
Basically, so like whenever someone freaks out and they're riding passenger and they think that we're going to go and crash, I'm like, relax. I don't want to crash this car any more than you do. I especially don't want to die any more than you do. So I'm pretty sure I'm driving within the limits, and so far that has been true. I haven't crashed yet or died yet, but yeah,
Yeah.
I completely get that. I've had it several
Yeah,
times
when
where
somebody's in there,
traveling.
I usually dial it back to like maybe 6/10 ish. But
Yep.
my whole goal is to make them car sick within one lap. That
Oh
is
wow,
like my whole goal, especially in the McLaren. It's super easy. Like the sheer braking power that it has and what it can do, like almost everybody gets sick.
that is incredible.
So
Have you ever been passenger inside your own McLaren? Not that I'm asking to drive it, but I'm just curious to see if being passenger is more nauseating than being driver.
on track, other than a parade lap, no. So Alex drove the 600 around like a mild spirited parade lap at Autobahn when I
Hmm.
rented that for another rally. Um, but other than that, no, I don't think so. I've been in a bunch of other like other people driving me in their cars, but
Yeah,
none of them were really all that good. Usually what it'll do or what I'll do is like almost like an instructor role. So I'll bring them out and then I'll hop in with them or I'll take them out in their car and then we'll switch and they're trying to do the same things that I'm doing, but I've been doing this for 25 years.
right.
So they're trying to shove 3 days of driving like this into 25 years and try to accomplish the same thing. So
I've been
I have
able
made
to.
myself sick though, almost always by looking at my phone though while sitting in the passenger seat on track.
Yep, that is like 100% the number one way to go and make myself sick
Hmm.
as well. I've managed to get my wife sick on track to where she's telling me, "Hey, I'm getting sick. Let's go off track." And then the other one that I can get sick pretty frequently without being on track is the dog. The dog will get
Oh
sick.
yeah.
The dog will get sick just doing a highway pull, and this will start panting.
Poor Ariel.
Whenever Ariel's
Yeah.
in the car, I cannot drive aggressively at all.
We have a chocolate lab and I don't know if you guys might have saw her at Midwest Fest or whatever. Alex is usually walking around.
Mhm.
She's usually rocking like a Road America or something bandana. Um,
Oh,
but
that's
she's
adorable.
never been in any of my cars. Like she goes in the Raptor all the time, but she's never been in the McLaren or the BMW. She was in when I had my GT3 RS. She was in that sitting on the floor, but she was like a 6-month-old puppy. I think we actually brought her home, like a 8-week-old puppy in the BMW, or not the BMW, the GT3 RS.
Jeez, that's quite
So
the
Adorable.
chariot to come home to or come home in.
she was
That's
like, "I hit the
adorable.
jackpot. I don't even know what this thing is, but it's got houndstooth interior."
Does an immediate pull.
Yeah, yeah, instantly. So
So,
loud.
going from that, like, what made you choose the McLaren as your, like, track car over the GT3 RS? Like, why'd you sell the GT3 RS and get the McLaren?
Well, I think we got to start like before then. So I started doing
Okay.
track stuff with like SVT contours. So they're huge Ford guy. Like my whole life I've been Ford. My stepdad, grandfather was vice president of Ford in charge of manufacturing back in like the Henry Ford II era. And then his father was in charge of the Taurus program. So like I grew up as a Ford person, like every car basically I've ever owned has been Ford up until I don't know, 2019, something like that. So had a bunch of Ford Taurus SHOs, Contour SVTs. I've been going to Gingerman since like 2004, maybe 2003. Um, so before any of this stuff, I was tracking that. And then I bought a Mustang GT350R in like 2018 and then really started diving into that. I was getting sick of doing Raptor events only, and I needed some outlet to like, I guess, I don't know, burn off my work
Mhm.
frustrations, I guess. And so I started I was doing this long before, but then I started like really getting into it and dedicating, I would say like 8 to 15 weekends a year doing this stuff. So started the Savage Rally, started out as GLRE Rally. in 2018 with the GT350R, and then I bought 2 more of those within the next 2 years.
You
And
bought 2
then
more GT350Rs?
yep.
'Cause you just
So
didn't like, you had 3 in a row or just
no,
didn't
no. So I
trade it
had
in?
one. Yeah, I had a magnetic gray, and then I was like, oh, I really want an avalanche because that's the color Raptor I had. So then I sold that, and then bought an avalanche one, and then sold that, and was like, I'm getting something drastically different. And I actually found it was a GT350, but the guy had converted it almost to like a full GT3 build. It had a massive wing on the back, a bunch of core motorsports splitter stuff up front. Um, it was just a raw car. I owned it for 2 months, and the only reason I got rid of it is because it had painted stripes, and I absolutely hated them. Like I didn't know it had painted stripes. I probably wouldn't have bought it because I hate the look of stripes on Mustangs. I think it looks cheesy. Um,
I can agree
but
with you there. I agree.
so I bought that, and then I was like, I want to get a Porsche, and I started looking at Porsches. So I bought the GT3 RS, and basically in my brain, I was like, this is amazing. There's no better car in the world. This is the like absolute fastest thing you could imagine. Took it to Gingerman. First lap out at Gingerman, I did a 137. And instantly I'm like, it's not that fast. Like in my brain, I'm like, that's not that fast. Like it's a $250,000 car.
That's
It's
about
not that
club TR
fast.
times now.
Yep, yep. So
Yeah.
then I was like, oh, what's the reason behind this? I'm like, okay, maybe it's me, or maybe it's just these really old Porsche tires. So then I put new Porsche tires on. It went 2 seconds faster. I got that car down to like a 135. Um, and then I put on a rally. We rented Carolina Motorsports Park, and one of my buddies, I didn't know him at the time, but one of the guys on the rally, we became really good friends, has a green 600 LT. And so we were out on track at the same time, and we're looking at data, and he's 5 seconds faster than me. But like
Jeez.
our corner speeds are the same. I'm like, fine, like let's just accelerate out of the last corner at the same time. And he just like no joke, he's just gone. I'm like, oh my lord. Went home, basically put the car up for sale, and bought a 600 LT like 3 months later. And then I used that for what was it? Not this year, last year, the first half of last year.
Mhm.
And so I had the 600 LT for like a year and a half. And then a really good deal came up on the 720. So basically, it was just a direct swap across for income tax or sales tax difference. So they gave me the same amount for my 600 that the 720 is, or that they wanted for that. And then I just had to pay 13 grand for sales tax. So
Jeez,
direct
that's a
swap
pretty.
across,
There you go.
and the 720 is insane. Like the 600 is an amazing, amazing car, but the things that the 720 does is like absolutely ridiculous. Like I was doing 135s, scrubbing a brand new set of supercar 3Rs at Midwest Fest, and like the
Mhm.
final qualifying three. I just like put them on, and I was like, all right, I just got to get all the stuff off of these. And I was doing 135s like effortlessly.
In terms of a raw car for tracking, which one do you prefer, 600 LT or 720? Because the
The
600 LT is more
720.
for gotcha.
Yeah, the
Just
600
because of performance?
LT, anything with an LT is like McLaren's version of, whatever Ford Performance nomenclature you want to use, or
Mhm.
RS or anything like that. But my 720 isn't really a normal 720 either. So
Mhm.
it's basically a 765 from a full aero perspective now. I have a full car. Everything from the doors forward now is carbon fiber 765 parts. So the front bumper, all that stuff is all carbon, and the rear is on order to do the quad exhaust, the long tail rear, all that stuff as well. So the only part on the car, probably by Midwest Fest that rolls around that isn't carbon, is the doors. So it'll be full exterior carbon, except for the door skin, which they're like, well, we can build you doors. And then they
And
tell me the price. I'm like, no, it can stay black. It's okay.
and that's like just for people too. Like I've seen the car in person, and man, the car looks so good. It looks so menacing. Um, Usually, like people go with like different colors on these 720s, but the black looks phenomenal with the carbon.
Yeah, it really does
Yeah,
look really good, and it looks. I agree with Fez where he says it looks menacing. I first saw when I was over at HMP this past year, and seeing you come around the corner. I was with my wife when she was taking photos. It is incredibly loud coming around. Why does it whistle?
yeah. So that's a thing that only the stock exhaust does. So it didn't whistle until I had a full titanium aftermarket exhaust on it, and then the V-band clamp broke because it was like put together kind of dumb from the company that made it. And when I put the stock one back on, like all of a sudden it developed this whistle. But every stock Ford exhaust 720 has that same whistle. So you can tell if it's a stock 720 exhaust basically by that. None of the aftermarket ones do it.
I
Okay.
was on track with Andy Hollis actually at ECR last year, and
Yeah.
he just shotgunned past me in the straightaway, and it just sounded like a jet. I'm assuming it's the same whistle that you have
Yeah.
probably on yours.
Yeah. It's the same. It almost you ever hear like the old Evo MRs where it's like just sounds like air moving with a slight whistle? It's almost that
Uh-huh.
same noise.
Yeah, it's
So
insane.
and it's like we were last weekend we were BSing about a bunch of other cars. Some of the guys that were with me have GTRs, and they're all talking about these 2,000 horsepower GTRs that do 60 to 130 in 1.9 seconds. And I was like, oh, that's cool. My completely stock car does it in like 4 seconds. And then when it was tuned, it did it in like 3.3 seconds. And it's a track car, not a drag car, like that only does these things in a straight line. But
Right.
like
These cars are
just
like one horse ponies.
yeah, like the 720 is just an insane, absolutely insane piece of machinery. It's hands. I toy with selling it, and I'm like, what am I going to buy? Like, it's hands down the best car on track I've ever driven.
That's pretty
Nice.
cool.
So what are your plans with it for 2024? Are you still going to be in track mod with it, or are you going to a different class? I know you were building a car for GLTC too, right?
Yeah, so if the BMW ever starts ever again or runs, it'll be a GLTC car. So after the little incident in front of you, Fez, it
Yeah.
still hasn't even ran since then. Um, it has a new motor, has everything is repaired, everything. But when you start it, it just sounds like there's something wrong. Like it won't stay running, like the timing slightly off. Um, but my mechanic is also my buddy's mechanic, and
Mhm.
he just finished building a five linked Coyote with a Whipple on it for his Raptor. So his Gen 2 Raptor, he got rid of the EcoBoost and put a Coyote with a Whipple on it, and then the Gen 3 Raptor rear suspension. So for the big event that I had last weekend, I was like, okay, the BMW can sit for now. It's no big deal. But um, I mean, really, the plan is to do track mod again, I guess, unless I want to go down. I do have a set of street mod tires I could use, and technically it is street mod legal with 285s on it. But I don't know if I really want to play that game. Like I kind of feel like a dick going down into that class. I
I didn't
only
know.
used the I only used the 720 uh, in street mod for two events. Um, I did Lime Rock and Heartland Motorsports Park in 22. Um, and Andy was there as well,
Mhm.
and he beat me by 1/10 of a second. He was on Supercar 3Rs, and I was on RE71 RSs. I had a 285 rear. Other than that, the cars were like identical.
Andy Vocal?
No, Andy Hollis. He lives down in
Oh,
Austin
gotcha.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that car was legal for street mod, but interesting.
yeah, as long as you put 285s on it in the
Wasn't
rear
there some
instead of the 305.
wasn't there some rule about the exhaust having to go underneath the driver or something like that?
Yeah, I think for those that has to exit behind the driver door, but the 720 is out the back, and the 600's up out like shoots up upright. So
Mhm.
that one doesn't. A lot of them. Every time I ever either car was ever protested was because it's a flat floor. So
Mm,
per McLaren, it says it in the wording. It says flat floor, but it actually has guide vanes on the bottom. So technically, I guess it's not really flat.
Not really.
Um,
Hmm.
but then there's a rule that says unless OEM equipped. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a really hard car to deal with on a 200 treadwear 285 rear tire. It like at Heartland Motorsports Park, I could barely finish one lap and the tires would be gone. It just annihilates rear tires when
How
they're
much power are you
285s.
making?
So in the stock form, it makes 690 at the wheel. And then when I was running the tune that I had, it was like 830. So
Are you still going to that tune? Because I know, that incident that you mentioned with your McLaren that blew up, and then the E92 that had the motor issue as well. Are you going back to that risky tune or are you just sticking with stock tune for now?
no, so right now I just have like they call it stage zero. So you still get all the perks and benefits, I guess, if there is any other than costing me a bunch of money, of having
Mhm.
the tuning and be able to data log because you can't data log the with the stock tune on it.
Mhm.
So it's they call it their stage zero, which is just a stock tune with data logging capability. But I think when I pull apart the rear, I'm probably going to send it back to them and be like, just flash and put the stock tune back on. I don't want to even have to deal with this. So that's kind of the plan.
Nice.
Uh, I was just looking through the rules for Street Mod, and I'm surprised that there's no price cap for Street Mod. I had assumed that there'd
No,
be a price cap
because
similar to Street, where it's like 83 or something like that. But go on, what were you
no,
saying about Street Mod?
no, there's no price cap. And I think mainly because the amount of money that are these guys are already investing into it would basically make that null and void, right? So like
Yeah, that's fair.
Dewey's got a ton of money into that car. So the car itself didn't cost him all that much, but now there's a ton of money into it. Um, and then Jackie was in there with the
Yep,
Supra. So like if a normal person tried to replicate that, it'd probably be like another 100 grand on top of the cost of the Supra. So
at that point, you just go to the nearby McLaren dealership and buy a 720F.
exactly, you could do
And yeah,
that and still be able to street drive it with your full interior, your AC kicking, listen to dubstep at the start finish line or in grid or whatever you want to do.
what's your song of choice when you're waiting to head out on track?
Oh, I don't know. I just
Artist.
usually play something. Halfway through last year, the song of choice became pretty much anything on the Taylor Swift Midnight's album. So we went in for Christmas last year. I ended up buying Alex tickets to go see Taylor Swift in Detroit, and I was the whole time I'm like, oh, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. And
Hmm.
then I went there. I'm like, oh my god, this is like the greatest performance of all time. Like
It
Okay,
looks like a lot of fun.
it's so bizarre to say.
people are comparing Taylor Swift lately to, Michael Jackson. They calling her the new queen of pop because
Yeah,
of
yeah.
how she's selling out all these concerts, changing the economy of that city or that state, causing earthquakes with her concerts. Like,
Yep.
it's insane what she's doing. Would you agree with that after going to her concert?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I never saw Michael Jackson. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old. I know who he is. But yeah, I mean, I was talking. I mean, I have a bunch of buddies who, and a lot of them are like Morgan Wallen fans or stuff like that. And some of them went. I think in Detroit, he was here 2 weeks before Taylor Swift or something. And I was like, did Morgan Wallen sing for 3 hours, have 20 costume changes, and do all this other stuff, and bring in whatever hundreds of millions of dollars in there? They're like, no, you sang for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm like, lame. Next. But it was just it was really cool. It's a spectacle. It's like a legit spectacle to watch her. And whether you know you like her old music or new music, or you don't like it at all, the spectacle is a spectacle. It is a legit thing. Like, I was shocked.
That is pretty cool. I've been seeing a lot of like the Instagram posts going around it, and it seems like a lot of fun. Even people who are sitting up in the nosebleed seats or off to the side of the stage are still
Yeah,
saying that it's a worthy experience. And hey, if
we were.
Taylor Swift gets you first place in track mod for the season, then it's a pretty good song to listen to.
Yeah, for sure. Unless it's karma, and then maybe that's the reason why.
Oh, that's
You
true.
got to blow up those motors to get first place.
There you
How
go.
many engines did you go through in 2023?
Oh, I don't want to talk about
Okay,
Three.
end of topic.
Three.
End the podcast. We're done.
uh,
Um,
yeah, so three. The 720 at Road America. Uh, the M3 in front of Fez at Mid Ohio. And so Ravi from 1010s technically, I guess, killed the Mini Cooper, but
I heard that podcast, and yeah, I heard about the debacle with that mini engine.
yeah, it started misfiring, and but we're like in the middle of Georgia. Like, what are you going to do?
Right.
Just randomly leave it? So we just kept driving, and then we got on the Cherhola Skyway. Alex jumped in with me in the McLaren. Alex and Robbie's wife Jess were in the McLaren. I was driving the Mini Cooper, and then we switched. So Robbie drove the Mini Cooper, and going up the Cherhola Skyway, it started to really act up. But then he took it down Tail the Dragon and back, and he was doing perfectly fine with it. But anything more than like a half throttle would start to miss, and yeah, basically it melted a piston, and then um, the only way you could keep it running was to hold it to the floor, and then it ejected the dipstick tube or the dipstick out of the tube, and then a geyser of oil followed it, and it was just it
That
sucks,
was
but
quite. That sounds quite the mess.
I think
yeah.
Eric Streeter, when he was driving his Mini Cooper to Heartland 2 years ago, in 2022,
hmm
similar thing. Like he blew his motor driving to the track or on track. I can't remember, but yeah.
I didn't know
Um,
that they were like this. Yeah, I didn't know that they were this temperamental. Like, I mean,
just BMW things.
I
this
always
is
heard the Mini Cooper engines were quite concerning. My wife at least wants a Mini Cooper, but
yeah,
a
don't.
friend of ours, his father-in-law, has purchased quite a few Minis off auction, and every single one of them is on auction. It looks perfect, but then you try to turn the key, and the engine either does turn over and it makes some terrible marble sounds inside, or just doesn't turn over at all. And
Yeah, they're. I don't know. It's a headache. I mean, I blame Italian Job for this car being here. She says that's why she wanted it. Is she really liked the Italian Job movie, and she went to Michigan State, so it was green with a white roof. It was like a perfect setup for her, and yeah, it's just. I mean, I don't even know. Like, it got fixed because it broke a timing chain guide, and then it like jumped timing, but still somehow kept running. Um, and then that cost like $3,000, and then like 800 miles later, now it melted a piston. This is probably 5 grand. I'm guessing the car was only 6. So
sounds like a time for a K swap.
yeah, or do a Model S plaid motor into the front of it.
Just to the front wheels.
Yeah.
that sounds like a
It
death
would go,
trap.
it would go faster in reverse than forward.
Um,
Have you ridden in the plaid?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you understand, like, the acceleration experience.
Oh
It
yeah.
is it is wild to be in an all-wheel drive car, and the front wheels are struggling to get grip, and yet you're
Yep.
still doing 0 to 60 in, what, 2, 2.5, depending on the state of charge of the battery. It's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, they're pretty wild cars. That's for sure.
Is this a
Yeah.
legit, like, thing you're gonna try to do, or is just,
No,
like, napkin
no,
math?
we were BSing about it last weekend, like on ways to make it reliable. So K swap was like the instant thing. Like everyone was like, K swap it.
Mhm.
So maybe
So
that's what'll happen. I don't know. The unreliability is exhausting. So
Knock on wood, my RS has been, pretty damn reliable. You guys are making me scared, though, with all these motor blowing.
you didn't
The
have
tri
no head gasket issues?
No, the head gasket was swapped out before I even bought it. I bought it
Oh.
brand new back in 2018, and it was a 2017 model. It had 80 miles on the odometer, and the head gasket was replaced prior to me buying it. So sometime between mile 0 and mile 80, it had the
Mm,
head gasket done,
oh,
and
wow.
nice.
83,000 miles later has not given me any problems. So I'm actually gonna
I see
be
them every once in a while. There's a bunch of them for sale in Detroit all the time. And I'm like, oh, should I get one of these as a day? I need a daily. Like, I'm putting too many miles on my truck. So
oh, man, I
I'm like,
saw
should I get a RS?
I mean, if you're a Ford person already, then, like, it's pretty satisfying. I love the car. I've always loved all-wheel drive cars, especially when they're, four-cylinder and manual, and so
Hmm.
the RS was just that perfect, blend of performance, practicality. It was my only car when I was, finishing up college, so it was a perfect blend in that I could, like, drive it as a practical car as a daily, and then once I got money and establish myself, then I could really start tracking it, and if stuff
Yep.
broke on it, didn't matter.
Yeah, I just need something to commute back and forth. I had a I was like, you know what I need is an RS6. I end up with these like stupid ideas that if I got an RS6, then I could sell the McLaren and then use the RS6 for a rally and then buy like a KTM Expo GT2 car or something, or some silly Ferrari challenge car, and then run in a limited with that. A
What
bunch
events
of
are you going to this year, by the way?
dumb ideas. Well, if the BMW is done, Coda, and then
For Super
rev
Lap
up
Battle in March?
for the GLTC. So I'll
Oh, for
bring the
GLTC. Oh,
M3 to
sweet.
do GLTC if it's done. I'm hoping it's done. I have everything waiting basically for it to be done. So the tuners are all on standby. It just has to run. It has to be a driving car before they can do anything. So, um, but then what did I sign up for? Rev Up, Midwest Fest, Road America, Autobahn, and Pit Race. All time attack. And then my plan is after you two buy my trailer, I'm going to buy enclosed stacker and and then I'm going to bring the 720 and the M3, and then I'm going to buy GLTC tickets for all five of those events too, and do Time Attack and GLTC.
Wow. Must be nice to have a stacker to be able to
Yeah,
bring, two racers to
you
these
guys
events.
have it.
I don't think
You
Fez can tow that stacker.
yeah, I don't know about that. What Stalker?
Mine,
Oh, gotcha,
but
gotcha. Yeah, how
the
much does that
open
weigh?
stacker, 3,800 with nothing on it.
Is it that light? 3,800 pounds?
Yeah. Yep.
Dang. I
So,
would've thought it was over, 5,000, to be honest.
No. Yeah, it's 3,800.
And Fez, how much can your, Tundra tow?
I think 11 or 12?
Hey,
Oh,
probably really
ooh,
close.
we're gonna be
Yeah,
pushing it. Yeah, because the RS
10,800.
is a porker. RS weighs 3,450 right now.
I did rough math of, 3,000 pounds for my car, 4,000 pounds for your car, and then 3,800 for the Stalker. Around 11,000 roughly.
Hmm.
Yep,
Yeah.
so we'll be back to doing Tacoma speeds on the highway.
I don't miss towing with the Tacoma. Um,
It got the
yeah.
job done.
It's a
I mean,
slippery slope. Then all of a sudden you got to buy a Super C because then you need somewhere to stay, and you can't tow it because a normal Class A is like can't tow
Brain
anything,
damage,
Mm.
right?
or you end up sleeping in your truck. I don't know.
We're already talking about it. We're already talking about getting, like, a big RV with, like, enclosed trailer eventually, long-term
Yeah,
goals.
yep.
Um,
You got to
but
have
yeah.
goals.
So, Jason, you talked about how your family was also in automotive and at Ford. Are do you and you live in Detroit, right? So, are you in
Yep.
automotive as well?
Yes. So I run one of the largest. I don't know if you guys know what electromagnetic compatibility is. So I run one of the largest radio frequency automotive test labs in the country.
Nice.
So we do testing on pretty much every electronic component that'll end up in a vehicle for every company. So we've done stuff, uh, Lamborghini Urus taillights, Cybertruck, that center bar rear thing,
The tailgate.
Cybertruck,
Hmm.
yeah, Cybertruck center stack or whatever display module they're using, headlights. We do a ton of headlights. And basically, we're just making sure that they play nicely together with all the other electronics from an RF interference standpoint. So when you put your phone inside, you can still use your instrument cluster, your radio, and everything else. So I have 16 people, 17 people that work for me. Um,
Wow.
but yeah,
Is this all required testing that the OEMs,
yeah,
like, require themselves to go through, or is
yep,
it, yeah, it is? Okay.
yeah. So there's a
Hmm.
subset, like so for Ford Motor Company, there's one, two, three, let's say like 13 specific EMC tests they have to conform to. And then there's a whole another set of environmental or regulatory or reliability tests like vibration, thermal shock, stuff like that, temperature cycling,
Mhm.
um, that they have to also adhere to. So my lab, uh, like I said, we do just electronic RF testing side, and we have another lab outside of Boston, Massachusetts, that we outsource all of our environmental or reliability testing to.
Wow, that is very cool. So are most of the, employees on your team, are they, electrical engineers, or, what educational background are they?
Yeah, so it's yeah, you can't really learn this anywhere. There's like some little tiny school in Rolla, Missouri that teaches EMC, and there you'll have like some random electrical engineering electives some places. So I have 7 engineers that work for me and like 10 technicians. But almost all of them end up learning like on the
Right.
job. So basically, you're going to school, you can prove that, yep, I understand, you know, electrical, radio frequency theory, etc. But the real what's happening is almost always learned there, especially from a testing standpoint and like the physics behind it and everything along those lines. So I did electronic warfare or radar jamming and
Mhm.
threat detection in the Air Force on the B 2 stealth bomber. Um, so in
Super
like the early 2000s. So that airplane that flew over the Rose Bowl that
yeah.
everybody was freaking out about, that's one of the airplanes that I worked on.
That's super cool. So, how did you get the idea of starting, like, a test lab?
So when I got out of the Air Force, I had this amazing idea that I was going to move back to the Upper Peninsula. That's where I grew up, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And then I quickly realized that there's no jobs up there. And if I wanted to do anything with my life, I needed to leave. So I moved to Green Bay for like 8 months, worked at Best Buy as a car audio installer, actually turned down a job with Gulfstream working on aircraft because it didn't pay enough, which ended up being more than I was making at Best Buy, but whatever.
I was about to say, that sounds like, how would be making less than Best Buy income?
Yeah, it was
Hmm.
really weird. So then I did that for a year, and then I left and moved to Detroit, and a headhunter found me at like a military thing and was like, "Hey, this company is looking for somebody who can do EMC." They're explaining it, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like it sounds like what I did in the Air Force, but your acronym's wrong, and like I don't know. And so that company was Denso. They're like one of the, I mean, they're basically Toyota's former electronics
Mhm.
division.
Still are.
Yeah, that's where I got my start in EMC. So worked there for 5 years, then left there, went to Continental Automotive Systems, who at one point was the largest electronics purchaser in the world. Uh, was an engineer for them for 5 years, and then left and built a lab for Nippon Seiki, which is a Japanese instrument cluster supplier. And then the company that I work for now, Bureau Veritas, we have 88,000 employees worldwide, 120 test labs all over the world. Sent me a message and said, "Hey, we're going to build this lab in Detroit. Are you interested in doing this?" And at first I said no. And then the more we talked about it and adjusted the scope, the more it made sense. So I ended up building this lab here. So 20,000 square foot, $25 million roughly invested into it. And then it does right around $500,000 of revenue a month.
Yeah, no, I mean, it affords a McLaren and affords
No,
the
that doesn't.
at least in our feed.
That
No.
doesn't pay for the McLaren at all. The rallies pay for the McLaren. So like
So how
my
did you start the rally?
business
Uh,
hustle is what pays for the McLaren and the Raptor technically. Um, when I built the lab at Nippon Seiki, that company only builds like 5 instrument clusters a year. So we didn't really have a lot to do. And so I get bored really quickly. So I decided I was gonna expand the Raptor stuff and do supercar stuff. So the Raptor event stuff I've been doing since 2012, I think. So like 12 years now. And
like when the first Raptor
yep,
came out,
yeah.
the first gen. Oh, cool.
So I decided I used to, when I was a kid, I mean, I guess not a kid, but in my young 20s, there was this movie that came out by Mischief TV called, it was like Gumball 3000, basically. So
Mhm.
it was like their thing,
Mhm.
Mischief 3000, it was called. It was like their documentary of them trying to join this ultra exclusive, like supercar rally called the Gumball. And so I was like, I want to do the same thing, but with Ford Raptors instead. And instead of doing this on roads, we're going to do it in the snow in the Upper Peninsula. And so that's what I did. So a 3-day event, point to point rally it was at the beginning. And I put out the information, and in 20 minutes, there was 50 people signed up. That is super cheap. It was like $125 for the first one. Now, 12 years later, it's $1,400 for the weekend, includes hotels and everything, and it sells out in 15 minutes with 130 trucks.
That's awesome. I
So
have
That's incredible. I didn't realize that your events included hotels. That price
yep,
included
even the
yeah,
rallies, it's
lodging.
all
I thought that was just price in it.
yeah, even the rallies, it's all inclusive, everything. So not your food because like it gets to be too much of a process. Like some people have dietary restrictions and stuff like that, and it's like we're doing so many
Mhm.
other things. Like sometimes, unfortunately, the easiest thing is McDonald's. So to like in my brain, I'm like, if I charge you $2,000 and we're eating at McDonald's, I'm doing something wrong, right? So I don't do it
Right.
because I would rather if I'm charging you money, you're going to be eating like something good, not a McDouble.
But yeah, I have more questions for you about that, Jason, because I've been also well trying to work with Lambo Club of Dallas here to host like an event for them. But
Huh?
I will talk to you offline about stuff like that. Uh,
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
yeah. So going into the rally, like you had a recently had a rally with your Raptor crew, in the Upper Peninsula, correct? How did that go for
Yep.
you?
Yeah, so Upper Peninsula, Michigan. It's called the Snowball, no W, Snoball.
Mhm.
It was great. So 2 weeks ago, everybody was sending me messages. There's no snow up there. Are we still doing this? What's going to happen? Like, like this is a big problem. There's no snow. Um, it's a fully permitted, insured event by the Department of Natural Resources in Michigan, and it's the longest permitted event that they have ever issued a permit for. So we do like almost 700 miles. Um, and like I said, there was no snow. On Thursday, the Upper Peninsula got like 1 inch of snow. And between Friday at noon and Saturday at 7 p.m., they got 38 inches of snow.
Yeah, it wasn't it
It
super
snowed.
cold too?
Oh, yeah. It was like single digits, and it snowed 3 feet in 24 hours. Like all lake effect snow, basically. Um, and so there's two trails that we go to. One's called Pashiki Grade Road, and the other one's called Grapevine. And there's some videos that are on my Instagram of me like breaking through these trails, and I can't even see out of the windshield of the truck. The snow is so high coming over the hood. And I had people sitting in the bed of the truck so that it would keep the back down to give me a little more front lift so that less snow was going over the hood.
That's crazy.
Like it was it was like Utah powder in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which almost never happens. It was so light and fluffy. There's a We shot a video. I jumped off of the back of my truck, did a backflip into or front flip into like a 5 foot snowdrift, and I knocked the wind out of myself because nothing slowed me down. Like
Is that
I hit the solid ground at the same speed I went into the snow.
were you okay? Like, is that video
I
on
mean,
Instagram for us to
not
view?
yet, not yet. It's coming. And then my buddy who does a bunch of race stuff up in Minnesota, he knows a lot of the Minnesota guys. He's on the back of the truck. He goes, "I'm coming to help," and he like jumps in and like belly flops on top of me. I'm like, "Oh God, just get off me, please. I'm too old for this." but but it's a ton of fun. It's a big mix of going fast on these. There's a lot of very curvy technical roads that are dirt roads, logging roads. We don't go anywhere where snowmobile trails are. We let them have their snowmobile trails. We don't interfere with that. I also have no interest in having a snowmobile to Ford Raptor collision.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's when there's that much snow, it's like a just a process on keeping moving forward and trying to get your team all gathered together. Like some need to be shoveling, some need to be winching, and we just got to keep moving forward to accomplish this task at hand. And it's a really cool team building exercise. And then we go back, we stay at I don't know, it's maybe like a 3-star casino hotel. But it's the nicest hotel in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And we go back there and there's bars and we BS and everybody has fun, eats dinner, and this goes on for like 4 days. And then we have a big banquet with a charity raffle um, that goes. We've been donating to Pause with a Cause currently. We used to do Wounded Warrior Project during Intrepid Falling Hero Fund or Breast Cancer Research Foundation. There's a whole bunch we've donated throughout the years, and yes, we just have it's almost like a big wedding type event with 250 people in it. It's a huge, huge event, and
How many
it's gotten so wild.
how many
Sorry, Fez,
rigs
go ahead.
sorry, how many rigs show up for that event?
So 128 registered, and I think 5 didn't show up, so 123 in total.
You guys had 123 rigs all in a row going through these trails.
No, so it gets split into 6 groups. So
Gotcha.
100 so you end up with like 100 or like 20 trucks per group. Um, but it seems like there's 100 and some from the outsider standpoint because anytime there's more than like 5, they just keep. It seems like they just keep coming and
Yeah.
coming and coming. But the whole parking lot of the casino, they have 415 rooms at this casino, and more than half of the parking lot is Ford Raptors. That's the only thing that's allowed to go. So whether you have an F-150 Raptor or a Bronco Raptor, that's the only thing. Other people have sent me messages. Can I bring my F-150 with Raptor stuff on it? Nope. Like I said I'll allow them when the event takes longer than 3 hours to sell out. And it sells out. The longest it's been in the last 10 years to sell out is 30 minutes.
Wow.
So
That's awesome. And you've been doing this since 2012, you said?
the 2013, January 2013. This was the 12th one.
You just do one a year?
Yep.
And
One
then
we do one big Raptor event, and then we do one like invite only out west, like blast through the desert, like full, like more traditional type of desert type off-roading uh, around Vegas to wherever we're going to go, whether it's Ocotillo Wells or Salton Sea or Jackson, Wyoming, or wherever. I put together a whole route at the end of June, and we do 7 days, usually like 10 to 15 trucks out there, and then all the hotels and everything are included. We do like a down day at the pool in Vegas with rented cabanas and a whole bunch of other stuff. So,
nice. And then you also do the Savage Rally, right?
yep, yeah. So Savage Rally, I do 3 of those a year. I started that in 2018, and one of my really good friends at the same time started a Savage Garage YouTube channel, and I was like, "Do you want me to run this as if it's essentially just offshoot of your company to help your YouTube channel?" Because I don't really care all that much about like publicity or anything from that aspect. Like, I mean, I don't know. What's the easiest way to say it? I don't really care if 13-year-olds approve or disapprove of what I'm doing on YouTube. And I think that's like the target market for most of these car channels
Mhm.
is 13-year-old kids, which is good. And, when I was 13, I would be probably 10 feet up their ass about, McLaren P1s and stuff like that. But I, uh, I don't really care about doing YouTube type stuff. So I was putting on the rally. We were doing 75 car supercar rallies. We went from Austin to Galveston to New Orleans to what's the place in Alabama? Gulf Shores, Alabama to Orlando in 5 days with 75 supercars. And it's just a spectacle. Everywhere you go, it's a spectacle, and it's exhausting because you can't get dinner anywhere because you have 150 people and you're just like showing up like, "Hi, we're here to eat dinner." Like, "Oh, we can only fit 30 of you."
So does
So
everyone just split up, I'm assuming?
everyone just, "All right, you guys are on your own." That's another reason why I don't include food.
Smart.
But yeah, so do that. We're on our 13th event. We'll be in April. I'm doing a supercar event from Pittsburgh to the Catskills in New York to Central Park, Manhattan, and then to Philadelphia. So the Manhattan aspect should be very interesting because I think it's going to be a traffic jam, and we're going to be stuck in Central Park in these cars, and it should be pretty cool to talk about.
Yeah, if you need a photographer, let me know. I got you.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Uh,
We have a lot of guys that come out and shoot photos for us and everything else. The problem's always like what's acceptable because the rooms are so insanely expensive. Like the one night at Central Park is $1,400, I think, for the night,
mhm.
something like that. So it's very, very expensive.
I know, Nick, you had
Okay.
some questions about the Bronco as well earlier.
Um, yeah. How did the Bronco do? The Bronco Raptor.
Yeah, so Ford Motor Company brings cars to the Snowball, and they use it as like a test bed. So they brought, I think, 4 Bronco Raptors, 4 Raptor Rs, and then 2 Gen 3 EcoBoost Raptors. And the Bronco Raptor did good. There was an issue with one of them where maybe there wasn't enough coolant in it or something, and then it got like an air pocket by the thermostat and wasn't cycling coolant through it, so it thought it was overheating, but it wasn't really overheating. Um, and then we basically opened the reservoir, added some coolant, and it's worked
Mhm.
perfectly fine the rest of the weekend. Um, so, but yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, I think it may be the most impractical, amazing vehicle that you could buy. Because it's like a side by side that you can drive on the street anywhere you want, but it has no storage capability. Like I'd own one if it could hold
That's true.
skis, but it can't hold skis. Even the 4-door, you have to get a roof rack, and now you're getting like 13 miles to the gallon. So if I'm going to get 13 miles to the gallon, I might as well just have the F-150 Raptor.
Even with the
So,
seats down?
but oh yeah, it doesn't hold skis. At least it doesn't hold my skis. So,
Wow.
like my giant slalom race skis don't fit in a 4-door Raptor or Bronco.
See, my wife and I are pretty short, and I think she and I would be able to, like, fit comfortably inside. I'm only 5'5", and she is maybe 5 foot.
The headroom inside is amazing.
So you could comfortably, like, put a
It's
helmet on?
just the cargo room.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah, yeah. But the cargo room for like if you have something in the back seat or whatever, and that's where it kind of lacks
Ye
the
I'll
size
have to go
is
check it out.
just the amount of cargo you can bring with it.
Yeah, because that's something that I really like about the Expedition right now, is the fact that we just got back from Big Ben, and we camped inside, and wherever we take it,
Hmm.
we camp on the inside with a full-size air mattress blown up, and then we just all our
Oh yeah,
college full-size mattress, material, we still have it with us, bed lining, comforter, and everything. We pack it inside in the back, so, like, for us right now, the Expedition is phenomenal. It's just I look over the Bronco and, like, it's so much more capable out of the box. And that is something that is attractive, but it doesn't tow as well.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have a buddy that owns, what does he got? A Bronco Raptor, a Gen 3 3.5 Raptor, and now a Raptor R. And he has a video of him pulling his Gen 3 Raptor with his Bronco Raptor on a steel trailer down the expressway. So, I mean, it could do that until it can't anymore, I
Until it
guess.
gets the air pocket and the coolant
Don't take any trailering advice from myself.
system.
I mean, technically the 8.6 can tow too, but for how long? That's the question.
Exactly.
When I got out of college, I had a tow hitch
Uh,
on the back of the Focus. I towed a 6x12 U-Haul trailer from San Angelo to Austin through the Texas Hill Country. Was it clutch happy at the end of that trip? It was not. That's probably why it's dead now at
No.
83K, but it was something that I did. When you're a college kid and you can only afford a $20 trailer and not the whole van.
Yeah, I listened to your guys' podcast about when you were off-roading and Fez thought his truck was so big. You should see when like a Raptor's around like a normal thing. It's so massively wide. Like it's so. How wide is your truck, Fez?
think, I gotta
We
look it up
we,
again.
uh, we did look it up last time,
83.
80.2 inches, because, Kenny was saying that the
Oh,
Tundra and his or, what was the other vehicle? The normal size Bronco was, like, the same width.
82, yeah.
So 80.2 inches,
yeah. The stock. The Bronco Raptor is 85, I think, or
and that's at the
86,
fender?
and the stock Raptor.
That's,
What's
like,
that?
fender width or mirror width?
That's fender
Okay,
width.
good.
Really tire width. And then the F-150 Raptor, I think, is 88,
Yeah,
and
86.6.
almost and almost all of us. Well, not my current one, but my old one was 93 outside tire to outside tire. So when I had my old long travel, there's pictures floating around somewhere in a grid life thing. I towed my 720 with my open aluminum trailer behind my long travel Raptor to Lime Rock
Oh, I think I remember seeing that
um,
photo.
for the first Circuit Legends thing. there's a lot of people that were taking photos of that. I think the
Yeah,
truck got more attention than anything else. The truck was so wild. But
that's awesome. Yeah, my issue isn't like the how wide the truck was, right? The issue is that we always take trails here that are so narrow
oh yeah,
that my truck
like little
doesn't
side
fit.
by side ones.
Yeah, there was once we were in Arkansas, and Nick was actually our guide there, and he decided to take us on these trails that were meant for side by sides or dirt bikes. And
Hmm.
we weren't in our big trucks. We had like a Tacoma, a GX, and like a Forerunner or something like that. And yeah, we did not fit, and it was just a pain the entire time. Like we were just had a lot of anxiety.
Tons of
um,
pinstriping.
Yeah.
oh yeah, my truck was very heavy with pinstripes when I gave it back. I hit a tree actually that trip because I had nowhere else to go and the throttle was really touchy, so I, like, touched just went into straight into a tree.
I hit a tree one time. My buddies, because I'm always the first truck up at Snowball, and like breaking trail is like a huge thing because there's just the amount of snow that's flying over the truck and everything else. And my buddy's wife was like, "Hey, can I hop up there with you for a minute and break trail just to see what it's like?" I'm like, "Yeah, jump in." So he jumps in, and I'm thinking it's like a crazy amount of snow. It looks like it's a lot of snow, so I just get this big running start. It's on this old elevated train like embankment
Mhm.
where there were some train tracks. They removed them. There was only like a foot and a half of snow, but it went over to the hood of the truck, and I lost where I was at, and we hit a tree at like 15 miles an hour. And then the tree had so much snow on it, it covered the truck, and then we had to get dug out of the truck by other people outside because it like dumped all of its snow onto it.
Jeez.
So yeah, but
Yeah, no, I wanna do an off-road or overlanding trip in uh, what's it called? In snow. That's also on the list to do, but I think I'll probably be getting
it's
rid of my truck this year.
definitely cold. I can tell you that. It was the day it was snowing, it was 12 degrees last weekend, and then it was negative 13 and negative 8 up there.
Yeah.
So
Well, the
it's
good thing is
definitely
that
not
you
warm.
expect it, though, right? You
Yeah,
expect
yeah.
it to be cold so you come
It's
prepared.
it's not a shock. It's not like all of a sudden like a cold front moves in August and it's
Mm.
30 degrees out.
Yeah, that's kinda what happens in Texas. We don't really get, it doesn't get cold for very long here, but when it does, it literally changes within, like, an hour. It was 60 degrees last weekend, we were out go-karting, and on the drive back home, by the time we got back home, it's 27.
I remember I was stationed in Wichita Falls for a year. That was where my uh, second tech school was when I was in the Air Force, and I remember it was like sunny and yeah, like 65, and then we were playing football, and then it started snowing, and the same day, and I'm like, what the world is going on here? Like, how is it this drastically different?
Yeah, just Texas things.
Yep.
But anyways, Jason, those are all the questions I had. Nick, do you wanna add anything else? I know we're a little over.
Yeah, it's all good. No, I'm good. Thank you, Jason, so much for coming on. This is awesome hearing about like your beginnings and how you got into the your business and all the rally car and Raptor stuff. I'd always was curious myself.
Yeah, of course. And thanks for having me. Hopefully, you guys are getting ready for, I don't know, Rev Up or CMP. What ones are you guys doing? I know you already covered it, but what's your first Grid Life event?
We'll be at Rev Up.
Rev Up. We'll be
Rev
there.
Up, then Midwest, Mid Ohio, and Road America, and I'll
Oh,
potentially be at
nice.
Lime Rock as well.
Yeah, Lime Rock's a ton of fun. It's just in the middle of nowhere. Like even my buddy who lives an hour and a half from there and has been there a lot, he's like, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Are there any hotels nearby, or did you guys camp?
Yeah, it's like what we stayed at this place. I could send you. It's like this old, like it's like an old hotel or something that we stayed at. It was 12 miles away, but it was like the nicest place. Like there's no food there except for the racetrack. There's no nothing. Everything
Oh, wow.
is like 12, 15 miles away. So it's kind of a process. Like if you have an RV or something to stay in, that's the way to
Uh-huh.
do it. Otherwise, you have to stay at a hotel and you're going to miss things because you're just not there.
Yeah. Are you bringing your RV? Do you have room for one more?
No, I'm not going to Lime Rock, at least as of right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't like it's not a place that really suits the McLaren. So the big issue with it is it has really small tires in the
Mhm.
front, so it understeers like really bad. Um, and if there's not a place to exploit the just sheer acceleration that it has, like there's nothing you can really do about it. Like it's fast. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. I think I was running like 56s,
Nice.
but it's not like super fast. Like you take that thing to Road America and it runs like 214s.
Wow.
So, or
That's a solid,
Gingerman,
like, 20 seconds or 30 seconds faster than I
yeah.
think most Club TR cars.
In Gingerman, it does I mean, it'll do a 130 all day long in crappy conditions. So even with drift marbles everywhere, it's doing 130s.
Are you gonna
So
be in Midwest this
Yeah.
year?
it just have to, yeah, yep, I'll be there. Hopefully running GLPC and that. I think was it last year or whatever? I sat down with you, Fez, for a while at Midwest, just BSing.
Yeah.
You guys were eating hot dogs or something.
Something. I don't remember. Yeah.
So
Wait,
yeah, I try to get around and BS with everybody and just mingle. There's so many people there, and
I
plus,
remember
if I'm not in front of the car, then I don't have to talk to people that I don't know.
yeah. I remember
So,
our first conversation was, it was, like, cold as heck at Midwest or Rev Up, I can't remember, but, we were at the gas station, that's where I met you, and you were
oh
like,
yeah,
if it gets too cold, knock twice for beer or knock once if you wanna come inside." I was like, "Alright." Yeah.
it was cold that day, right at night. I think it was cold.
It got super cold, yeah.
I remember going there and I had to wait for the stupid defrost to defrost the car.
This was
But
Rev Up,
yeah,
I think, yeah, 'cause
yeah,
Midwest wasn't that cold. Yeah,
yep,
but that was record time or record weather.
yeah. Michigan's weird too. That lake really changes things. So
I'm I'm hoping for that type of weather again this time for Rev Up because I wanna get down to 38s with my car.
yeah, I think you can do it. It's definitely there.
Yeah.
So
Alright,
uh,
guys. Any questions for us, Jason, before you go?
no, I mean the big question I had was, why are you guys commuting from Texas to the Midwest? But it makes sense, right? I I mean I could be doing this for lack of a better term anywhere, but I do think that Grid Life is doing an amazing job. Um, the big thing I don't like about a lot of the other places is when the track goes cold, you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, right? Like or you're just hanging out with your people that you came there with. I like how Grid Life is bringing together multiple people. I don't consider myself a McLaren driver. I know you guys probably do or whoever.
Hmm.
I just consider myself a guy that is driving a McLaren. Like I kind of want to buy a Focus RS and run in street. I kind of want to buy a 86 and run in Club TR. Like
Mhm.
it's just the 720 is the thing that makes the most sense because I can use that and do rallies, right? But the big thing is there's almost no other entities that are you can have this mix of cars all together. So I get why you guys are driving essentially halfway across the country, you know,
Yeah,
to spend 2 hours on track a weekend. It makes
right. It
sense.
it is only 2 hours on track, but, like, it's an entire event, and it's the off-track activities that are just as enticing as the actual track stuff. So, like, sure, I could go over
Yep.
to Road America and do an HPD day with any number of organizations, or even do a competition, but when you're not on track, which arguably is 90% of the time, real life is where you wanna be because of the people,
Sure.
the companies that come out, just the bullshitting that is just so much fun, just it's like being back in high school again, but being able to have fun with cars in a safe environment and see other cars that are not just in your class. So, it's a good time. Road to
Yeah, I totally
America,
agree.
I hope to bring some of my family from Colombia. They've now are speaking out and are interested in going to one of the events, my mom included. So hopefully this is going to be the year that she is actually on track with me. Well, and like
Nice.
the little taxi drift I like to put on at festival events.
Yeah, those are fun. I always feel bad though, like for some of the people. Like I'm like, all right, I'll bring the BMW out, and then they always seem to end up like you're getting somebody belted in, and then they're like, okay, we're done. So they just waited in line for like 2 hours or whatever to go for a ride,
Mhm.
and then they just run out of time. You know.
Yeah, that's true, but sometimes that's what they're looking for. A lot of the spectators. I, I enjoy like just being able to take it as many people as possible. One of my favorite times was actually the first time they did the taxi drift grip session at Midwest in 2021.
Yep.
Yeah, Fez and I went out there first. Him and I were right behind the Falcon Drift Boys. He is trying to keep up and like hot lapping his FRS. Meanwhile, the Falcon Boys were
Hmm.
leaving us in the dust. So like they are drifting the track as fast, if not faster, than Sunday Cup or Club TR and street class cars. So like the bottom three classes are
Oh yeah,
struggling to keep up with these drifters. It's such a riot. And then with the Focus, I was able to take four
yeah.
people out there at the same
I
time.
used to, yeah, I used to drive for Roush Performance at SEMA.
Hmm.
So like I know Justin Pollock. I drove with him, so I would be in a fully built Raptor doing stuff while he was in his FD demo car. And we were both giving rides to people, and we'd come up with like silly things to do. So I was talking to him at Midwest Fest, and I'm like, "You miss going out there?" And he's like, "Nope, not really," because like we would just stand around all day long and just wait for our 45 minutes every 3 hours to give people rides. Um, but yeah, some of those guys are just they're just wild. Just how fast they can carry speed through corners that are it doesn't even make sense.
It is now becoming one of
So
my life goals to be in a drift car or own a drift car and do a reverse entry. Well, I take that back, 360 entry. Like come in a quarter, do a
You've never been in a
360.
drift car?
One time in Dallas.
Dude, come to Midwest. We'll get you in one.
yeah,
Look
they're
forward
always
to
looking
it.
for somebody.
But yeah, like to end on this note, like grid life is it's really hard to make friends. I don't know about you guys, but for me, like it's really hard to make friends outside of college, right? But because of grid life, I've been able to make friends all across the country at this point with from all tax brackets, age brackets, whatever you want to call it. Um, so it's definitely I think a great place to be, and that's one of the reasons why we all kind of go out there and mingle, should talk, as Nick said too. So
Yep. No, I totally agree. We're all the same person out there. Like we're all just trying to set the fastest lap we can possibly go. Right.
yeah, like you might be a McLaren owner, a Raptor owner, but you still did a front flip in the snowbank and almost hurt yourself.
I'm still a little kid.
There you go. But yeah,
So
thank you so much, Jason, for coming on. It was a pleasure having you.
of course, thank you guys, and talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, Jason. Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.